All right.
So again, good evening, and I'm pleased to welcome everybody to this meeting of the ANC3C Historic Preservation Committee for Residential Projects. Um, and I see that we're joined by several applicants and their architects or representatives. Um, I'm Rick Nash, the commissioner for ANC3C, which is sort of west of 34th Street in Cleveland Park and includes portions of Woodley Park, Massachusetts Avenue Heights, and joined by several other commissioners, including the co-chair, Gowan Kripke, represents Woodley Park and Woodley Normanstone. I propose that we take the projects slightly out of order from the agenda tonight, unless someone has an objection. I was able to listen in on the meeting of the Architectural Review Committee the other evening, and I would like to start first, if we could, with 3307 Newark Street. I see that the lead architect, Outerbridge Horsey, is here. I think that's probably the smallest project in scope and likely to be fairly straightforward. So we can hear about that first, and then if folks who are here for that project want to stay, great, or if you want to drop, you're certainly able to do that, and then we can get on to the other things.
Outerbridge, are you going to be presenting a deck or somebody else from your group?
I'll be presenting the deck, please.
Okay, I will make you a co-host if you
Great.
1 second. So you should be able to share your screen now.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, delighted to be here. I think you'll find this, as you said, as the chairman said, is fairly straightforward and small project. We're at 3307 Newark, just east of 34th Street. We have rear second story addition that I'll just go through pretty quickly. So this is the view of the house, handsome house from the street. And we are around the back, so around the east side. This is the existing site plan. Newark Street is here, and we are adding a small addition to the back to really mirror an existing rear second story addition. It's kind of hard to see this from the street, actually, or even from anywhere, because it's the vegetation in the side yard is pretty tight. So here we are. This is the side yard coming in from the street. Going farther back, this is the one-story porch that was built in 2008. And here's a view from the back of that porch here. A little nice. It's a pretty porch, and we're keeping most of it. And this is the area where we are adding up here. And basically what we're doing is we're replicating this sort of enclosed porch vocabulary with our addition to expand slightly the second floor. Here are the floor plans, no work on the basement, no work on the first floor. And we just came down this side yard and went to the back and had the views from there. So really the second floor here, this is the existing second floor where we're expanding here. And then this is the attic, the third floor. So there's existing plan. These are the existing elevations, facades. No work on the west side. Let me move this over a little bit. No work in the front. And again, here's where we're going to demolish a smaller addition made to the original. Here's the original house. And we're removing this portion on the east side and some of the roof of the 2008 portion. So this is where our new addition is going to go. So here we are with the proposed second floor plan. Here's our new room. Comes out to the same length in the rear as the others, as the other side, and basically is fenestrated in a similar fashion, mimicking an enclosed porch. We're adding a bathroom on the inside and a bedroom. And then here are the elevations. This is the east side. And here's our east side, new east side addition here. Here it is on the rear. And if we turn this corner and go back, this beautiful Palladian window, towards that, this is the west facade of our addition. So it's all a lot of windows. most of which look out either on our own house or on the rear yard. And even the ones that face the neighbor, that area of the neighbor's house isn't particularly fenestrated. We haven't heard from any of the neighbors. We distributed copies of the notice letter and also directions as to how to access the documents on HPO website to all the confronting and adjacent neighbors, but we haven't heard from any of them. And prior to that, my clients who I'm representing here, Laura and Hunter, have contacted all the neighbors just to as an initial point of contact. Here's an enlarged section showing the existing areas that we're removing and where we're adding our new room above the existing porch. And these are the structural plans that I don't think are of much interest to you. So that's pretty much it. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Horsey. You know, as I said, this seems fairly straightforward. You mentioned you'd contacted the adjacent neighbors. Did any have comments or feedback on the plans? And then later I'll ask if anyone is here to speak to it.
No, I left in the note, the memo that I sent along with the public notice letter, the required letter, I sent a little memo with the instructions how to directly access. And I gave my email address and my phone number, and I haven't heard from anybody. So,
Okay, thanks.
yeah.
I don't have any more questions on this. Let me ask if any of the other commissioners have questions or comments.
No, but nice to see Outer Ridge on this side of the HPRB instead of on the board.
Well, I do miss it, but I'm glad to have my Thursdays back.
Fair.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. But anyway.
I also appreciate the time that you spent doing that. Um, we all know it's a lot of work, not much money.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Are there any community members, neighbors who are here to speak about this application? Okay, with that, you know, just given the straightforward nature of this, Mr. Horsey, I expect that we'll put this on the consent calendar at the ANC, and so it wouldn't be necessary, you know, for you or your clients to present on this.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you all for your time. Appreciate what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to in order of the original agenda now to 3034 Newark Street. And is Ralph Cunningham here? I thought I saw him.
Thank you.
Hi, Ralph. Just in the interest of disclosure, I've known Ralph for some years and am familiar with some of his work. In fact, he and Cunningham Quill were the architects for a home renovation project that my family did about 15 years ago. So, Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you, Rick, as always. As I was introduced, I'm Ralph Cunningham from Cunningham Quill Architects here in Washington. And this project is on Newark Street, and it's sort of towards the top of the ridge coming up from Connecticut Avenue. The street has quite a slope on it, but there's a much larger slope in the backyard towards Macomb Street and Ross Place below. I think many people are familiar with that ridge between Macomb and Newark. So this house is relatively eccentric. It had been very poorly renovated, probably in the 70s. For example, the siding that you see here on the front is actually aluminum. There are a couple of windows that are covered up by said aluminum siding. So just for starters, our plan is to do a very thorough and comprehensive preservation plan for this house, which includes replacing the siding with what we think will match the original. We're gonna take that siding off very carefully, look at the framing, and look at the pattern of window openings because we think that quite a few of them have been changed, particularly on the turret, which is on the left side of the houses you're looking at. This is looking from Newark Street next. So for context, again, Newark Street, this is where Newark Street starts to bend and drop down. These are neighboring houses. The street, as you know, is full of an eclectic mix of various houses of different styles. Next. Look, we're having trouble with the next.
Is it not showing? I changed the slide.
I don't see a change.
Let's see. Go back and
I see a
I can
garage.
see it. It's the garage one, Ralph.
Okay. Next slide.
Other examples of garages on the street.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Okay. Thank you, Angie. Next. And this was something that HPO asked us to look at, which are other examples of turrets in Cleveland Park. So looking at these, we think that the sort of wall to glass ratio is about 50%, but we will find that out when we take the siding off, which is now vertical siding, off the turret. Next. And here is a page from the newspaper that HPO found, the original house. And you can sort of, it's grainy, but you can see some of the original details that we'll be putting back. Next. Again, more context. Next. More context, and you can see that the house has a mix of various things that have happened over the years. Originally, the porch that you see there wrapped all the way around the house. It was enclosed at some point, probably in the 70s. You also get a sense here of the drop off, which is very steep at the back of the house. So the place where we are building is the only place we can build an addition to this house. Next. Various side views. There's an existing driveway, existing curb cut, existing stone wall. And here you can see where the porch was filled in to expand the living room in the 70s. By the way, these details that you see here are, can we go back one? Are very interesting to us, and we're going to disassemble those porch pieces and reuse them where we can. There's quite a lot of rot back there. There's been some propping up this porch over the years. So again, we're going to do a first-class preservation project next. And here you see on the right, you see the proposed addition compared to the existing. You see the existing driveway and the proposed addition on the right towards the rear of the property. There's a rear setback, which you can kind of see as a small dash line. And so we are close to the rear setback and the side setback as well. Next. The plans, I'm going to go over very briefly. We're adding a garage at the basement level. Next. And, the entire interior of the house will be renovated. These are the plans of the main floor. The house has a very beautiful stair, which we'll be restoring, but quite a few changes to the rear to accommodate this family's lifestyle. Next. And a new master bedroom in the side addition. So the addition is pretty much the typical kitchen family master bedroom addition that we see a lot in Cleveland Park. Next. And the existing attic will remain as well as the existing dormers. Next. And so this is a roof plan. And then here you see the proposed addition on the left. There are really no changes to the front of the house. Again, this addition is significantly back from the street, about 40 feet. Next. And then the side elevations facing the neighbor, and then the other side, which is very hard to see. But this is you know, before and after. Sorry. Next. Again, before and after. We've picked up the language of the existing house. And you know, want to create a porch-like rear elevation. Next. And then, sorry, this was the other side of the house that I was talking about before. The one change here is that the existing dining room, which was enclosed as a bedroom at some point by the previous owner, is going to be opened up as a screened porch. Next. And then a section through the driveway showing the existing and proposed. Next. And some three-dimensional drawings of the addition. Next. Maybe that's it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So can we go back to maybe the site plan drawing, please? And we look forward to your comments.
Okay, well, thanks very much. You know, and I do want to thank you for, you know, your commitment and your client's commitment to, you know, a strong restoration and preservation project here. I was wondering, in addition to the slides that you showed, do you have, or, you know, if you're prepared a slide, a sort of elevation slide that shows the relationship of the expanded house, including the side addition, the one to the east, in relation not only to the original house here, but to the house to the east and house to the west?
So we have contacted the neighbors, and they may be here this evening. We plan to meet with them in the next couple of days. We are aware of their concerns, and we'll be doing those drawings as a part of the meeting with them. And we'll be meeting at their house to talk about this project.
Okay. Yeah, when you have that elevation, it would be useful if you could, you know, send it to
We
the
really will, yes.
And you know, I'm sure others will have questions, but I did want to ask if you've had a chance to look at the ARC report that came out today, and specifically, you know, what your thoughts are, or your clients' thoughts on some of their recommendations that the addition be demarcated in its scale and treatment to better distinguish it from the original structure, and that specifically the addition should be pulled back a bit from the east property line. And they had other comments, but
So in general, I have seen those comments that just came out this after. At least I just saw them this afternoon. We also have comments from HPO, which are reasonably similar. So we are working on revisions to address the comments. We don't, you know, we don't agree with all of them, but we do agree with most of them. So there will be some revisions to this based on comments from HPO, the ARC, and the neighbor.
okay, thank you. Those are all my questions for now. Let me ask first if other commissioners have questions or comments.
I do.
Hi.
Also good to see you again, Ralph. We've been at Building Museum AIA events. I'm wondering how many more fellows of the AIA we can get on this call this evening.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what you're correcting with that 70s enclosure of the bedroom. Also making the windows more not chaotic.
Distant, I think maybe the word.
The windows were giving me anxiety until you were
Okay.
showing how you were making them in harmony with, you know, sense. Um, but yeah, you're not asking for like BZA relief or
No,
anything, like any
there-
zoning relief with this,
there's
right?
this is all by right. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. But yeah, I think then it makes perfect sense to me what y'all are doing, and I don't know how you distinguish it more when you're trying to correct that 70s stuff. Like,
We have some ideas that will
okay.
bring on the scale of the addition a bit. And so we've been looking very carefully at that. And actually, I had a meeting with our clients this afternoon about it. So there are going to be some revisions that are really just about breaking down the massing a bit. So we are working on that, and we agree with the comments. So we're not
Okay,
we're not arguing.
cool. No, this is great and very interesting project. Rick promised me some exciting and fascinating architectural elements in tonight's meeting, so he
Thank you.
didn't
Rick has many decades of experience.
lie. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Are there other comments from the ANC? Okay, hearing none, are there community members who wish to speak on the project? You know,
Did you say community or committee?
community.
Community, that's me, yes. Thank you. Thanks for your time. I'm Sarah Newman. I'm the immediate neighbor to the east at 3030 Newark Street. And I just want to begin by saying how much I really love living next to 3034. I know it's had renovations over the years and they are a bit hodgepodge, but it's still like, you know, it retains this really unique character and it's beautifully sited. So we've really loved living next to it. And I'm also really, you know, really happy to see that the restoration that's being planned. It certainly needs it. I think everyone acknowledges. So, you know, really appreciate that. And I also want to just say from the outset that I'm completely in favor of thoughtful growth and development in the neighborhood. We do, you know, we have expressed this before, but just to reiterate, we do have concerns about the project as it's currently proposed. We learned about the project a little over 2 weeks ago. It did come as a bit of a surprise, and we were actually out of the country when we learned about it, and then we got back about a week ago, and just trying to wrap our heads around it now. And you know, the increased information, if we could get some, you know, as we spoke about, some more renderings that show the context and more kind of defined dimensions, that would be super helpful. My husband and I did speak with the neighbors, and they have expressed willingness to work with us. As Ralph mentioned, we're sort of in the process of figuring that out now and scheduling a meeting. But just because this process is moving so quickly, and there hasn't yet been, you know, opportunity to make any changes to the plans, part of what I'm really asking for tonight is just the ANC support to moderately sort of delay the project so that we have the opportunity to work it out amicably. And you know, obviously, I know the ARC has their own feedback. I'm assuming you'll need to take that into consideration as well. We do have concerns about the structural integrity of the retaining wall that straddles our two properties, but just specifically in this context, I want to just flag some more kind of historical and aesthetic concerns. Most significantly, as you know, the eastern elevation as it's currently proposed is really large. It's undifferentiated. It's kind of a big wall with no setbacks or delineation between the stories. And this is pretty important for us personally because it is the view that we see from our main living space. It's the our kitchen and living room windows like directly out onto the house. And we sit down slope from 3034. So the proposed addition really is like this 3-story wall right in front of our windows. So it significantly impacts our light and our view. More relevantly though, for this committee, the new mass is pretty different from the original house. You know, the original house has differentiation on all 4 of its facades, and the roof line is separated quite a bit. This addition does change the way the house is seen from the front, as well as the side, which is a significant view, given the curve and the slope of the street. And it changes the sense of the landscape and how the house sits in the landscape. So, you know, again, just want to reiterate that we're really hoping to have a bit more time to work this out, to come to a solution with our neighbors that is amicable and gets them the house that they want without really hugely changing the nature of the historic setting. So that's really what we're hoping for. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. Are there others here from the community who wish to speak on this project? Okay, let me just ask, Mr. Cunningham, do you have anything that you also want to say at this point?
Just that we collectively appreciate Sarah's comments, and as I said, we're going to be meeting with her in the next coming days to try to come to a mutually acceptable solution.
Okay, thanks. And as you note, there are comments from the ARC, and then you have comments from HPRB staff that I haven't seen.
The comments are actually fairly consistent, which is helpful to us, actually.
Oh.
So we are addressing them, and we will be revising the package accordingly.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Are there any other comments on this project? Okay, well,
I just wanted to say, I asked the question about the relief. Sorry. Can I?
Please go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. About the relief, because I'm glad that we went back to this site plan slide where the 2 adjacent properties have clearly built up to their allowable like side yard relief. So I'm like, I find it challenging, whatever it is, when another neighbors is proposing to build to their allowable space on their property, and the neighbors who have already done so like are in opposition to doing that. And I'm glad that you guys are talking to each other, but I think that, you know, it's hard to like look at this and be like, is that like fair? But
Thank you. The only thing I would just say is that this is a totally quirky neighborhood. The lots
yeah.
really, the lot lines are quirky. You know, our house was built in 1911 as it was. There have been no additions to it. So it was just built, you know, 4 feet from the property line, and that's how it was. So, you know, it wasn't a choice that anybody post 1911 made.
Yeah, no, 100% get it, but like this, I've been doing this for too long now, 5.5 years. So we've seen a lot of it, but it's just, you know, I'm again glad that you're talking to your neighbors and are willing to get to an amicable, you know, resolution on it. Again, have seen worse. And I do appreciate like your thoughtful comments and helpful criticisms, you know, to move this forward. So thank you. Just for future reference, those in the audience.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. And if there are no other comments, I'll close by saying that, you know, I too appreciate Ms. Newman's comments, and And of course, the presentation and the willingness of the applicant, the clients, and their architect, not only to engage with the neighbors, but, of course, to address where they can the comments from HPRB staff and the ARC, which, as you say, are fairly consistent.
Mhm.
I look forward to seeing the revised plan.
Thank you so much. Appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Okay, well, thanks again. All right, so moving on here. We have 3314 Ordway Street. I thought I saw Mr. Donovan. Is Mr. Williams here also? Yes,
I am. Can you hear me?
yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good evening, Chairman Nash and members. I think we saw you not too long ago on the Center for Hellenic Studies campus plan. So we're happy to be back. Justin, are you presenting or?
I think I am.
Okay.
I'll share my screen.
So we're here tonight to show a concept level review for a new house proposed for the south side of Ordway, just east of 34th Street. And the existing house is shown here, both in the location map and in this collage of some of the existing houses. It's a non-contributing structure from around 1954, 1955, colonial revival. And there's one or two sort of similar houses on that same side of the street. And the opposite side of the street is quite different, actually, with a series of kind of connected duplexes and sort of altogether different houses. But this is the site, and if you look closely at the block plan, you'll see there's pretty fascinating kind of collision of very different property lines that are sort of coming together into a sort of cat's cradle. And that actually figures into part of the story that we wish to sort of respond to and to show in our design for how this lot and how the rear of the lot actually connects through a kind of friendship path, I think they call it, to the Cleveland Park Club off of Highland Place. And that's actually a keen interest on the part of the client and their young children. A couple of photographs in the upper right-hand corner show the side entrance and lead walk, which is actually going to be fairly similar in the new proposal you will see. The rear of the house also describes a kind of split level grade between sort of an upper level sort of terrace on the west side and then kind of a lower grade, mostly in gravel, on the east side. And we're also in our proposed design really trying to tailor fairly carefully to those existing conditions as well. And I think you'll see why. You want to go to the next image. So this is sort of a concept site plan, site diagram that tells a couple of important sort of stories and that we're trying to tell with this house. It's a fairly narrow lot, as you can see. And this house, you'll see, is mostly a 2-story and a sort of 1.5-story wing towards the rear. But let me call attention to some of the sort of color asterisks and what they mean. The yellow sort of connects two features at the front and the rear of the house that we sort of call the porches. It is indeed a screen porch on the rear of the house, looking, into kind of a fairly wooded rear of the property, and you can sort of see the Friendship Path to the south and to the Cleveland Park Club. In the front of the house, we're proposing a porch-like element. It's really a glazed sitting room that is sort of used by most of the members of the family, but it's actually kind of connected. It's immediately adjacent to the primary bedroom, which a little unusually, the primary bedroom occupies a pretty good chunk of the footprint, of this house on the kind of northeast corner of the house. And these two porches are connected by a pretty strong axial path. Uh, and that's a feature we always sort of like with our projects, is where you can get a long view that really connects some of the primary features, especially those that connect to a view to the landscape, which they do in both cases here. The orange asterisk and arrows represent the two entrances. We already mentioned the one on the front entrance is very similar to the side entrance of the existing house. You come through a small gate, up a few steps onto a stoop, and you enter in, more or less into the front third of the house. What's really kind of quirky and interesting about this house is, because of the Friendship Path to the rear and the club, the clients asked us to make a real feature of the mudroom door and the rear entrance to this house. It's just as important to them as the front entrance. And that actually really was a starting place for a lot of our thinking, and we'll show you in a section slide in a minute. Lastly, the blue asterisks and their kind of connections just really represent the key social spaces. And we're really putting an emphasis on how they connect to one another, but especially to the side garden, views to the rear. You even get a glimpse of the living room as you're sort of entering into the entry stoop. So most of the social spaces are here on this level. There's some on the lower level, and they're more private spaces, as you might imagine, on the second floor. I think the next slide actually shows the relative footprints of the existing conditions and the proposed. Honestly, the house is fairly similar in terms of footprint to its existing condition. The exception being this wing, this 1.5-story wing reaching out to the south, which sort of contains, you'll see, the proposed kitchen and a screen porch. The second floor is actually quite similar to this footprint. And in all cases, we're trying to be respectful and sort of reduce the scale, not overbuild the lot, and try to create as much sort of space for the side garden as possible. Justin, I think you're gonna jump in and talk about the sections and
Sure,
plans would be great.
sure. And we can see that site wall that we were seeing in the rear yard photos, kind of pretty serious, retaining wall holding up, the upper, rear yard and then the lower side yard. And really the extended wing is playing that role in our scheme. And this is a section cut through that wing, and we're looking toward Ordway Street. So we're seeing the lower side yard here and the upper side yard, which is at essentially at grade with the living room and a few steps down from the kitchen. This is the mudroom stair. So there's a stoop, the side yard, mudroom stair leads up. There's a few steps that actually go down to more of the mudroom that then connects to a garage, which is accessed from Ordway Street and tucks underneath the most forward block of the house, which is the primary bedroom and a kid's bedroom above. This longitudinal section is cut. We can see this front, sitting room, which we called, the front porch or sitting room here, and then living room. We're seeing dining, and we're seeing the single story wing stretching back that contains the kitchen and screen porch. The next shows a series of watercolor perspectives illustrating the connection of the main level spaces to the landscape. This upper left is showing the path leading to the front door. We're getting a peek into the living room there. And this is the front sitting room here. We have a curved retaining wall that is holding, is defining a garden off of the front sitting room. Here we're seeing the living room and again the kitchen wing. Richard talked a lot about the axial connection from the front sitting room back to the screen porch, and we're illustrating that in this, especially this center sketch here. We're seeing out the living room windows to the rear yard, side yard, and through the kitchen to the porch.
Rick, I think you were attending the ARC meeting the other evening, but we did also mention this is very much a brick house. We think a very well-crafted brick house. And you may notice in some of these renderings on the bottom of this page, we're even bringing the brick inside the house, a little bit the way the Slayton house does up the street, the IMP house. And we're very conscious of the tradition, now tradition in Cleveland Park, of course, its period of significance and its wonderful Victorian and Queen Anne houses, but it has a very strong tradition of modernism, particularly modernism of an appropriate scale that fits in to this magnificent neighborhood. And our clients and we are, very very interested and very motivated to be in that same tradition.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, this next view is from Ordway Street, and we're seeing an early concept model view, and we'll see some development in a few slides here of the fenestration on the front facing Ordway Street. But this is illustrating how the driveway is tucking underneath the bedroom block, accessing a garage door. And here's our curved retaining wall. It's front sitting room and front door. Should talk about the light monitor. This is not a chimney, but it's definitely recalling that architectural form, and we think it does a lot to help modulate scale and establish some hierarchy, and it helps separate planes and does a lot for the front elevation. But its function is to bring light to the stair hall. So just jumping to the plans, we just saw the main level plan and the site plan. So I think that's all pretty clear. Again, it's living, dining, kitchen, screen porch, primary bedroom on the main level. This is the stair going down to the mudroom entrance. Jumping down to the lower level.
Oh, Justin, could you just hang right
Yep.
there on the main block? I just want to make one final point, and that is the two curving site walls are very intentional. with this design, you'll actually see there's definitely some language in the house uh, where we're sort of embracing, the curves as ways of resolving and leading, to some of the key circulation spaces like stairs. But the two site walls are incredibly important. They embrace both of their gardens. The front garden contains or will contain probably a specimen tree, like a threadleaf Japanese maple or something like that. And the experience from the very glazed sitting room, I think, being held, you know, almost like a jewel in its setting by this concave space, is really a feature of the site plan and the experience of the house. Similarly, on the rear yard and the rear garden, that terrace that's adjacent to the screen porch and the kitchen is embraced by a smaller radius, but similar curve. And then there's a set of site steps, exterior steps taking you down to the lowest part of the site. And in fact, a smaller hardscape terrace outside, a sort of guest room at the very rear of that wing. And we do see these walls made of perforated brick, but the same brick, probably a tawny brown, maybe a touch of red, but a tawny brown brick. The site walls are made of the same material that this well-crafted brick house is, striving for sort of simplicity and, reduction of the number of materials.
Right. And I don't know if we mentioned it, Richard, but the slight crank is a very intentional way of just expanding the side yard for the living kitchen and screen porch side, and we're compressing the lower side yard, which is really about a path. It's a path between the existing stand of cryptomeria and the living room, kitchen, dining, kitchen, screen porch wing. And so we're seeing the lower level here, and again, single car garage and a bike room accessed from Ordway. And some other more private spaces, but we do have a guest suite that does connect to the rear lower terrace, and this is that mudroom entrance. Immediately it arrives on a landing and it goes down, and we're really tailoring our section, as we said, to get the garage where we need to be, but also meet grade here, existing grade. So, and then the upper level really is, at existing grade as well. It might be, 8 to 10 inches higher than the existing main level. Upper level is a pretty efficient layout of 2 bedrooms, an office, and a family room. And the office accesses a deck that's over the living room. And here we're seeing the single story kitchen and screen porch wing. There's a laundry room that's accessed off of a stair landing.
The
And
skylit stair landing.
yeah, we're dashing in the skylight of our light monitor.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the roof of the front sitting room here. Elevations, I think we're looking at the lower right hand corner here is the Ordway elevation. We're seeing the garage, the front sitting room, and light monitor. West elevation cutting through the side yard, and we see the order of what we refer to as the arcade. It's an important ordering device that's allowing to do some pretty large windows marching along for the kitchen, and then screened openings for the screen porch. That jumps up and becomes pretty large windows for the second floor as well. Front door is here. Jumping over to the opposite side, we see the mudroom entrance dashed in here, and you can see how that section works. And we see the driveway sloping down here, tucking in underneath the primary bedroom. This is the rear elevation, and we're seeing the cranked wing kind of in true 2D elevation. We have some model views of this as well. That's probably a little easier to understand.
I think, if Justin, just one other minor point, we sort of reprised the rhythm of the arcade facing the side garden on the east facade, just to try to keep the moves, to the simplest kind of number of variations that we could.
Right.
But it's sort of a useful device as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll see at the end where we show some material, exterior material images. That order is not always filled with a full size window. So we do have some spandrel panels and infill, and we're working on an idea where that is done in masonry or terracotta and not metal or wood. And again, really trying to keep the materials to a palette to a minimum and create a well-crafted, consistent house here. A view from Ordway Street, and you could see a larger, centrally located window, a little different than the early concept model view that we saw earlier. But in other respects, very much very similar. We see the light monitor in the front sitting room and this curved landscape retaining wall. This is the garage door, which we really do want to do as a flush garage door.
One thing we might stress is that the sitting room has some fairly traditional wooden louvered shutters, and I worry that they're reading a little opaque. I think in reality they would be, of course, depending on the angle of the louver, but they would be really quite transparent, and you would be able to sort of modulate the natural light coming in and modulate, the amount of artificial light coming out. And but it really is it's really a perfect cube, as a matter of fact, and it's sort of nesting in this inside corner of the two brick sort of masses, and really becomes the feature that sort of welcomes the street and welcomes pedestrians walking up and down the sidewalk, and speaks to the life within the house.
Yeah, we're seeing, pretty faithful, although, in a watercolor texture here, but they're pretty faithful representations of the neighboring structures. We can see that even more clearly here, and we hope you feel the same. But again, we're striving to do something that's not overbuilt, that is, make some alignment with its neighbors, isn't towering over the neighbor, and the modulated, planes help break down the scale of the proposed facade. And so we think that these views illustrate that quite nicely. Richard was mentioning earlier the neighbors across the street, where we see the brick townhouses. So we're picking up on some of that context, and perhaps the materiality is, a little bit more in sync with what's happening across the street. But it's a real variety, and you know, we are imagining this to be a Roman brick. So beautiful, you know, beautifully crafted brick home. This is a aerial view from the rear, and you can see the single story kitchen wing, the deck off of the upper study, the light monitor, and the embracing garden walls. And here's a palette that we've been putting together, and this speaks to the kind of terracotta infill and Roman brick color and, you know, proportion and texture that we're striving for. So I'll go back to that concludes our presentation. Can go back to the site plan. And happy to take any comments or questions.
You're on the footprint, Justin. Or is that where you mean to be?
Yeah, I thought I'd actually should
Okay.
land here.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Donovan, Mr. Williams. You know, and I appreciate all these sketches, and in particular the view that shows the proposed new house, you know, and its relationship to the houses, you know, in the immediate context, both next door and across the street. That's always a useful slide, and you know, I appreciate your showing it right up front, as well as, you know, the obvious thought and you know, care and design that you've put into this new house, this infill house, relating both to the context in the immediate area, and also, as you point out, to some examples of modern architecture in the neighborhood. I had a couple questions and a quick comment. The first question is the chimney-like, you called it a light tower. I forget the.
Or light monitor-ish. It's a tower.
So that appears to be, you know, dimensionally about the width of one of the large windows in the front. Is that correct?
That's
Mhm.
correct. Yeah.
The other question is more process. While this is not a contributing structure, so you can build something there as matter of right, it does need to fit in the context. Have you reached out to the adjacent neighbors? And,
Yeah.
The
Yes.
owners have, yes.
and
All abutting neighbors.
have you received any feedback from them?
To our knowledge, it's all pretty positive. Perhaps there's some in attendance tonight. I guess we'll find out. But the owners have told us that by and large, they've received fairly positive feedback from all of the neighbors.
Thanks. And then the only comment I have is I did review the ARC report on this project as
Right.
well. They support the concept, and you know, appreciate the care that they of course put in. I must say I know there are different perspectives, but I would disagree with their comment that the curved retaining wall in the front and elsewhere in the project are somehow, you know, unfriendly. And I think that you've done a skillful job in, you know, softening is perhaps not the word, but in providing an interesting counterpoint to, you know, what is an angular, you know, if not like design, and also responds to some of the, you know, the unusual configuration or dimensions of the lot.
Yeah.
So with that, let me ask if other commissioners have questions or comments, and then we'll go to the community. Janelle.
Yeah, thank you for this presentation, and 10 out of 10 with your graphics and walking through why fellows of AIA become fellows. You get elevated for a reason. So, and again, the lack of ARCA speak in these meetings, I appreciate every time where folks walk through a design from a human level. Anytime architects do that, I want to give you your flowers. Although, say windows, don't say fenestrations. It drives me nuts. Just say windows. My question though is, and I usually don't have like a ton of comments on single family homes. But like in the context of that neighborhood, like there are so many sloping roof lines. Like, and this one is so stand out of just like flat.
Mhm.
Like, what was the like how is that okay? Because sometimes we hear from people with like issues with like the roof line isn't matching the family of the roof lines of the neighborhood. Like what is your thought behind like
Sure, well, there's a fairly simple answer. I mean, we've studied it. I can guarantee you, Janelle, I mean, we've studied this 6 different ways to Sunday, but we honestly have found that the scale is actually much more sensitive, and we're seeing more sky and we're seeing more views to fairly significant canopy of the trees to the south of the house. And the neighboring house to the east might be sort of a good example of what we weren't trying to do, because it actually throws a lot of mass up into the sky. And in order to keep this house compact at 2 stories, we felt it would be a big mistake to do that. Um, I guess the other thing is we do we've done plenty of conventionally roofed houses, and it's a very different problem as a rule. Uh, you have to, maybe Ralph's project preceding us is kind of a good example. Uh, the sculpting of the roof form itself becomes a primary goal. When you have a flat roof in simpler geometric volumes like this, there is more flexibility and freedom and a little less dictatorial rules that must be followed. And I would argue that, in this historic district, especially actually in this part of Ordway, and I know we're in the heart of the historic district, but I think it's probably okay to not necessarily be contextual in that regard. If we are really paying attention to alignment with eaves and being very careful about proportions and very careful about scale, I think that's a really good modern house. And so really it's about scale. It's about maximizing views to the sky and sunlight and air, but also seeing the canopy of the very mature trees beyond are real motivating kind of issues for us.
cool. Richard, it wasn't a criticism, by the way. It was more of a Janelle Pagets wants to learn. The you bring up the trees too, and looking at the Google Street View, the mature trees on the sidewalk, I'm a little concerned about them, but I don't think that's a HPRB like your permit issue.
Mhm.
Because they're like on that sidewalk view, they've uprooted the sidewalk to where they put
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
and that worries me. But that
Mhm.
again, is not up to your
Sure.
application to solve, but something I just noticed. the other thing I want to note is why I asked the question about the roof lines. I'm a Cape Cod child that grew up in urban Pennsylvania. And now that you've explained it, it makes sense as to why we couldn't really change our house very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're always learning here, and I
Mhm.
appreciate it. And
No, no,
really
no. It's not a universal rule. It's just in this particular place, it really struck us as uh, this being the kind of solution that was going to fit in better. And yeah, we realize it's a little different, but we we really think the craftsmanship and the care and the landscape and the relationship to the landscape is very much, um, going to fit into the neighborhood of Cleveland Park.
yeah. No, your storytelling there was aces.
Cool.
Loved it. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions from the commission? If not, let me just ask if anyone else is here to speak about the application or ask questions. Okay,
No.
if then, let me just thank both of you for this presentation, and I echo the other comments on the thoughtfulness, creativity you've put into this design.
Well, thank you very
Yeah,
much,
thank you.
Rick, and especially your good comments about the curved retaining wall. We appreciate that.
Yes.
You know, our intention is not to focus too much on design, although
Right.
we care about massing and scale, but I thought
Sure.
of that. Okay, well, thanks very much. Now, the commissioner represents this area isn't here this evening, but I will talk to him, and unless he has an objection, my expectation is that we may move ahead with this on the consent calendar. Um, one question I should have asked, though, is have you received comments from HPO staff?
Um, just today, as I wouldn't say so much comments as we had a very good call with Steve Calcott,
Okay.
and we need to discuss with, they were minor, but we need to sort of discuss that with our client. We did not have the time to do that today, but it was very positive.
Okay. And he's the reviewer as far as you know,
He
Rick?
is the reviewer.
Okay. Well, I mean, in light of his comments, do you anticipate that they'll be seeking substantive changes to the design?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. Well, we'll be in touch, but subject to talking with the other commissioner who represents this area of the ANC. I don't anticipate that, assuming we take this up next week, that you would need to present at the full commission.
Well, just let us know. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you
thanks.
so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Right.
you.
I believe we have one more matter on our agenda, which is a project that I think we've seen before, which is 3521 35th Street. And I think I saw the architect Olivia Atkinson here. Yes.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Should I proceed?
Sure. And
Yes.
what would be helpful as you frame it is, tell us what has changed and
Sure.
so kind of to anticipate some questions that I'm sure we'll have. There seems to be, at least in the other review I read, some confusion about some of the inconsistencies in the elevations and other plans presented, and also if you could address the visible construction that is on the house and what that is, and how that relates to the proposed plan here. Thanks.
Well, as you mentioned, Rick, this project was previously approved, and upon construction, we encountered issues with some of the sightlines, mainly from the front and northern side view. So we are thus revising the third floor to address this. The side addition is not the issue here. It's mainly the third floor. Initially, the plan showed a third floor with a rear deck. In order to reduce visibility, we have pushed back the third floor addition about 15.5 feet. And we've also sloped the front and side northern elevation to reduce visibility. And that, in a nutshell, is what we're attempting to do to help alleviate some of the site issues on this project.
Okay. Well, thanks. Do you want to walk us through the plans, particularly where the changes are?
Yeah, I was gonna
Sure.
say, are you presenting something or my imagination?
No problem. I'm sharing my screen.
Uh,
Hold on. Yes.
We can see all of your
Well,
files right
I
now.
know.
I can't put my glasses on.
Okay. Do you see the site plan?
Hold
No.
on. It's been lagging a little today. So you might have just shared your file folder thing and not the
Okay, I always have issues with this. Let me try it again.
it's because they change the settings every single time and they keep you on your toes that way. I didn't do it to you, I promise.
Okay, hold on. Oh boy, hold on. Okay, I'm not. I had all my files set up and now I can't. Can we try one more time doing it this way?
Yeah, unshare this guy.
It's still not sharing?
It's only sharing the Explorer folder to show all your files. So
Okay.
you might have selected just that, which happens to me all the time.
Because when I click on it, it shows, okay. Do you
So
guys have the,
So unshare your screen right now. And if you have
okay,
PDF open, go to share screen again and select that
okay.
PDF. It just
I've
is
gone
weird
to,
if you don't have the PDF open first.
okay, let me open it. Because it's open on my screen and now I'm sharing it and it keeps going back. Okay,
Unshare your screen right now.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let me try this again.
Yes. Cool. This is totally the story of my day job, by the way. Like,
We've all been there.
That's
yeah, seriously.
okay.
Oh, now we're seeing settings.
Okay. I don't know. Okay. Stop share. Okay. Can you see
There.
that?
Yes.
Okay, so for some reason I can't get the site plan, but these are the drawings that we are submitting to be revised. And so basically, if you see the front of the house, it shows the existing roof, and we have the front balcony. And I'm showing this part in the rear is the third floor addition, which is showing the sloped roof in the front and on the side. Does that make sense, that part?
Yes.
Okay, so here we're showing the front and rear elevations. These elevations are deceiving. I am showing the height, but what we intend to do with the front elevation is to make this a shingled roof, the same as the existing roof. But this part on top will be sloped 4 feet, no, 5 feet. It'll be sloped 5 feet, and it's the part that's been pushed back 15.5 feet. And on the right with the rear, we're showing how it's been sloped on the side 4 feet. On the side here, you're seeing the elevation again on the side, but this part will be sloped, so it will not be as visible as it is on this elevation. This is just a section showing how the slopes will affect the interior of the design. Again, in a section, the front of the house. To the right are elevations. The first one is showing the front. You would not be able to see the front addition from this view. On the side, you would be able to see a bit of the third floor addition, which is being shown. And here is the rear elevation, which is basically staying the same as was initially proposed. Here we have some more exposed elevations. We spoke to Todd, and he wanted certain views from Porter Street, and also, well, this is from Porter Street across the street. This is actually on 35th Street from the right side of the house. Again, looking up, you can't see it. We've cleared the rendering so that the trees are not as they are in real life, but in real life, there are a lot of trees on the site. And then lastly, we have this rear elevation. To the right is the picture as it exists. You can see the existing house with the tarp. And we are showing it here on the left-hand side with the rendering as it would look from further up north on Porter Street. And that's the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Could you go back to the slide? It might have been the second or third one you showed that had the view from the rear, but as it relates to, okay, that's helpful there. Do you have anything that shows the relationship to the other part of this duplex structure?
No, we don't. We actually asked Todd about that. And he said we didn't have to show that. I have no problem preparing those plans, but he did say we did not have to prepare those plans.
Well, I think it's, you know, we're pretty community focused, and it's just helpful to understand the relationship, you know, to the structures nearby, but particularly to the house of which this is, you know, kind of attached. My related, so if you could at least, you know, send something like that, all you have to do is add the illustration of the, you know, the rest of this structure. So the
Absolutely.
relationship of the pop-up roof to that. The other question is, you know, with respect to this revised plan, have you, you know, again, contacted the adjacent property owners, including but not limited to the party that lives in the other side of the house? And if so, have you received feedback?
Initially, when we submitted, it was positive. We have dropped off plans and sent them certified, but notably it was last minute. But we haven't received any negative feedback to date.
Okay, when did you send the revised plans?
Yesterday. Sorry, the days are blurring together. Might have
Okay.
been day before yesterday, either day before yesterday or yesterday. Forgive me.
Close enough at this point.
Okay. All right. Do others on the commission have questions?
Yeah, I think the initial feedback from the neighbors was they were okay with the first submittal and you've improved it since, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I struggle to find reasons that they would not approve of an improvement. So Rick, remind me what SMD this is in.
It's in 8.
So it's
But-
yours.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so it's up to you if you want to put this on consent for next week. And if you have contacted the neighbors.
Sure.
Or,
I've not spoken to the neighbors yet, but I will contact them, just given that, I mean, everybody's busy, but given that the notice went out. Ms. Atkinson, if I could ask too, you had made some adjustments in response to, I guess, some previous comments, questions from Todd Jones, the reviewer on this. Have you gotten further feedback on this set of plans yet, or do you expect more?
To be honest, I feel I'm not too sure where Todd has landed. He has concerned about the side view. And my frustration is that this is not a corner house. There is still a house on the left-hand side. So I don't know, to make a huge point about a slight visibility on the side of the house, I think is a little unfair, seeing as this is not a corner lot. I don't know how the ANC views that, but that's Todd's main concern. But you cannot see this proposed addition from the front at all.
can I see it from the street at all? Unless I'm like literally
This,
violating
Mhm.
their property.
I'm sorry?
Can you see it from the street at all unless I'm like walking into their front lawn?
I mean, pretty much. I mean, if you look at this view on the left, um, I can't, well, if you were to
Yeah,
zoom
I
in,
see.
you see it right up there.
Oh,
Um,
behind the trees if I squint really
yes,
hard.
yes, that would be the visibility of the addition, correct?
Yeah, I would not presume to speak for Todd Jones. I would be interested to know, their concerns and how they come out. I mean, I take your point that this is not on a corner. But on the other hand, it is a change in roof elevation for what is an attached house, and so I think, it's important to, send that slide that I asked for that shows the relationship to the other part of the house, because, it does change what is a unified structure. And so, he may not have asked for it, but, I think it will be important for, for the immediate neighbor, as well as us, just to understand that relationship.
Not a problem. I will prepare those drawings. I would, however, really like to reiterate that the rear has really not been a concern, especially with the first approval. The rear has stayed the same, except for a slope to reduce visibility from the side.
Yeah. Okay, well, if you could get that slide, but I appreciate all the time that you've put in on this.
Thank
And
you.
I know that, as you say, some of it has changed, as, after you started construction. So, okay, are there, let me ask though, are there any comments from, the community, the immediate neighbors and other community members? Okay, well, anyway, look forward to getting that slide, and I will be back in touch.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other, we had a pretty full agenda, but before we break, I just want to see if there's anything that we missed, or any other matters, questions to come to the committee's attention.
Rick, I think we want to try and send out a updated, revised final draft agenda like Saturday. So if we can get like the things we want to move to consent from this meeting, like drafted, and or like you tell me the list of stuff from this meeting and that we're gonna move to consent, like by Friday,
know,
that would be super
Sure.
helpful.
Sure. Subject to any other comments we get in, just based on the presentations and what we're hearing from the community, I think there's two that are likely, definitely to be on consent. One is the Newark Street project where Mr. Horsey is the architect.
Yeah.
And I believe the other one, the Ordway Street house, in some ways it's major. I mean, involves demolition of a non-contributing structure and building the house. But I've yet to hear any concerns from the neighborhood, and there has been a lot of care on that. It seems like Mr. Cunningham is going to be revising his design for the other Newark Street house, so that's unlikely to come up. And then this final one is a question. Let's see the slide, So, but
Okay.
the other point though is I do want to talk with Zach, because three of the projectors are in his SMD
Correct.
to consent ones and make sure one he's okay with a consent, and we'll see how we handle the resolution. I mean, I'm prepared to do it if he can. So
And Rick, keep in mind, HPRB has told me it doesn't need to be their preference is it's just a letter saying you approve and there's no concerns. Or if you have concerns, say the concerns. Don't, like, we don't need to send them resolutions. They actually, they don't.
okay, I mean, I'll look for that.
To make it easy
Oh.
for all of us, right? But it would be helpful if you could send that to me by like Friday or Saturday, where you want things to fall on the agenda or not, so
Definitely.
that when we renotice the meeting with the updated draft agenda, because we're also discussing that other resolution tomorrow, updating stuff that with the QFR, adding that to the agenda, adding the draft budget thing, right? I want to have it.
I want to have a strong, sense on the agenda by Friday, and hopefully into resolutions by Saturday-ish.
That would be super, because I mean, I'm hoping all of us will be at Art All Night on Friday, making friendship bracelets.
I would love to be. I'm going to be out of town Friday night, but I'll be there in spirit. So,
Oh, I'm gonna stop the recording because it's like now just background noise from us. But yeah, it would be good to have that.